Hello YouTubers, this is Amberola1B coming to you again with another video in my series that I call Echoes from the Past. Today I'm presenting a home recording on a spool of wire that lasts about a half an hour long. And this recording was made on July 8th, 1950. And it was recorded in Ohio of, I think, a pastor and some members of his family or members of his church that knew his family. And they were sending a message to relatives, probably in another state. I don't know. But anyway, he had a bunch of people identify themselves and make a little message on the recording. Some were short messages, some were a little longer. And I like these recordings because it delves into people's past where they make intimate recordings and short messages to one another and of family members who are no longer with us. And it's just a little private peek into their past to show either how they lived or who they knew and what their lives were like, if they, mention anything about the person's life on the reel of wire or on the spool of tape. And it's kind of interesting to, get a little glimpse of somebody else's life that we never even knew. It's also interesting that it'll probably never happen, but if anybody ever heard any of these recordings that I'm, presenting on YouTube, that if they actually knew the persons that were in these recordings, that they could actually say that, hey, I was a relative of that person. Anyway, I'm going to start this recording and I hope you like it.
This is about 4:20 in the afternoon, Sabbath afternoon, July 8, 1950. At Darbydale, members of the Grove City Church assembled. Now I have the recorder over here giving a little entertainment, and we plan to make this record and send to you that you may keep it. I don't want it back. Keep it. It's a record of my voice, and we will all speak in it. Elizabeth is here, Mabel is here, and some of your old acquaintances who will introduce themselves as they come by and say a few words. But first we're going to sing you a song that is number 18 in Gospel Melodies, All Hail the Power of Jesus' Name. 118. Mabel at the piano. All right. I got your last recording, but we're not playing it tonight, or this afternoon. You remember you forgot to turn it up in the middle? And it wasn't for that we might play that one, but we have a sermon here by Elder Crispin that we're going to play. Now first I'm going to ask Elizabeth to come up, her stepmother, and say her piece in here. Come on up, Elizabeth. She's back there in the corner. It'll take a little while to get up here. But we're going to have this special treat for you. Whenever you can get your recorder, you can play it back.
Hello, Charles and Brian. I'm glad to hear your voices over the air, and little Terry Lee's, and we're all well and happy here, and having a nice service this afternoon, and we hope you have a nice time there as we are. Mrs. Mabel Michaelis, your sister, and glad that I've heard your voices, and I'm thankful that you are studying out there, and hope you have success.
I forgot to tell you that we played the first recording where the whole family was there. Now we're going to have them people file by and all line up here. You come and each one say a word and tell your name. Some of you are acquainted and some of you are not. All right, come on, don't be bashful. Somebody start out. Kincaid's, and suppose the line forms over there and comes this way. Just fall in behind each one of you. And give your name and say your message. That'll save me a lot of Master of Ceremonies introductions.
You ought to have a lot to say, Mark. Hello, Charles and Brian. This is Mrs. Kincaid. I'm sure you remember me. The boys and I were just talking about you the other day, how they enjoyed going out with you and your father and studying your Sabbath school lesson on the lawn. And we're very happy to know that you're happily married, both of you, and of your little girl. We enjoyed hearing her voice, and we are happy that you've had success in your studies, and looking forward to having two good doctors in the Michaels family. Goodbye.
This is Mary Schoaf, used to be Mary Shadone. I know Charles remembers my voice, but I don't know about you, Brian. And I'm glad that you boys are taking up the work that you are, and I wish you all the success, and glad that you're happily married. Bye.
This is Kip Schoaf. Glad to talk to you, Brian Charles. I know you well. I wish you success on your whole life. Goodbye.
This is Mrs. Frank Hurley. I'm the elder's wife. I do not know either one of you boys, but I look forward to meeting you someday. Goodbye.
Hello, boys. This is your Aunt Alice. I'm awful glad to get to say a word to you. And I don't know whether I'll get out to California or not, but I might one of these days, and I might get to see both of you before you get clear through school. Goodbye.
I'm the second stranger here. I'm Betty Martin from Southern Missionary College. Maybe that makes you a little bit homesick. We're going back next year to finish up. Perhaps sometime we'll meet you.
This is Mrs. Stokes. You know me as Florence Kincaid. I'm glad to hear your voice once again, Charles and Michael. Brian. I recognized your voice, Charles, but Brian just didn't sound like himself. I hope to see you someday. Hello, Charles and Brian. I know Charles, but I don't know you, Brian. So I hope you make a good success in your work.
Hello, fellas. I don't think you remember me very much, but my name's Stokes, Dave Stokes. I married a girl that you heard talk a second one before this, Florence Kincaid. Now, I've seen you boys over to Columbus a few times, especially, I think it's the sailor before he left for the Navy. I spoke to him the day before he was to leave. I'm glad to hear the great success that you are having over there in your studies, and hope you have all the best. Bye.
Hello there, Charles. This is Nellie Singleton, you know, the short and long one. We used to walk along, you know. It's Caroline's mother. Well, I'm glad that I can speak to you a few minutes, even though I can't hear your voice, and I wish you all the luck in the world in your progress.
Hello, boys. I don't know you, but I know your father, and I do know you have a fine father. My name is Frank Hurley. I'm the leader of this group here, and a mighty fine group I have. Really the finest little group in Ohio. And I'm glad that you're that we're going to have 2 more doctors in the Advent movement. I wish you all the success in the world.
Well, there are others here. You know, Mr. Stokes, some of you do. He's Mount Vernon. Let Mr. Stokes just stay away. He's here to speak to the group today. He has the sermon service.
How do you do, boys? My name is Stokes. You probably remember me. I'm David's father. And when you went to school in Mount Vernon, you might have seen me there. But I've seen so many boys and girls there that it's hard to remember those that don't stand out distinctively in my mind as having had any close contact with them in the years gone by. It must be a marvelous thing attending our medical college, preparing for medical missionary work. And it was very interesting to see and hear the conversation you've had with your father over the wire. It's a very unique privilege that we have today that we can transmit pictures and voices, pictures over the television and voices over these wires. Good success to you.
Well, we've only put about 10 minutes recording on here, and we have a half-hour spool on here. Sister Stokes wants to say a few words to you. That's Dave's mother.
Hello, Brian and Charles. I'm very glad to have heard your voices today. It was an unusual treat. The last time I saw you, Charles, you visited me at the academy when I was matron there. I believe you said you had come there to visit your sister, whom I didn't know at that time, but I do now. Had I known we were going to have this recording today, I might have had more to ex-students to have told you about of Mount Vernon Academy. But while sitting here, I've tried to make a list of a few that came to my mind. Of course, the classes, being at the academy so many years, I couldn't list the different classes, and I don't remember just who each of you boys graduated with. And it may be that some of these Brian will know and some Charles. Some of this is good news and some isn't so good, as some of these ex-students. Margaret Zettelmeyer, I don't know whether both of you boys knew her or not. She was from Cleveland, very brilliant student. She went to Washington, and there she met some soldier and married him out of the message, for which we're sorry. She has lost her father also. Of course, you remember Kay Lovell. Possibly you may know more about her than I do. She lives out in Oregon. Married that doctor in California. Robert Metcalf, I think Brian will remember that he became an evangelist and was in Canada, and through some mishap, the circumstances, he was dropped from the ministry. We're very sorry, and we don't feel it was all his fault, but we hear that he is doing better, and he and his wife, or she, got a divorce from him, but the last report I had that she has come back to him and they have remarried, and we hope that he will be in the message again. The Virgil Chilson married Ruth Morris. I don't know whether you knew her or not. Her folks were missionaries in China, and they had visited there at school, and Elder Morris was principal of the academy afterwards. He is in the ministry, and they're in Portsmouth, Ohio, and have 2 children. Then there Betty and Alfred, you remember, Betty Johnson and Alfred Chilson. They are out in your territory now, up near PUC at Angwin. They have 2 children, the 2 little girls. The last one we have not seen. She will be a year old sometime this month. Betty has always been sort of a homebody, and she gets very homesick for her people. And so they had built them a new home out there, planning to go to college. But now they have sold it, and they're coming back east. We hope to see them before long. We're sorry about conditions out there. We often hear about the situation among our people, that they're getting so worldly and so near the coming of the Lord. It's too bad. And so they felt like they wanted to come away from that with their children. Donald Johnson is in Florida at present. He was drafted, of course, in the draft. He wasn't in the war. But he had a serious automobile accident, and he had a motorcycle and had a collision with a car and was almost killed. And Dr. Miller told him that the Lord had spared his life for some reason. He is in Florida, as I stated. Edward was in the war, of course. He is in Washington. He married Carol King. I don't know whether any of you boys remember her or not. But he is out of the message. And I wish that both of you boys might remember them in prayer. And also remember Donald, too. Then there is Donald Lindsay, who married Mary Zervis. You remember she was such a good Christian, one of the best Christian girls in the school. And you know, Donald left the message, but she married him anyway. They have 2 children, and they're out of the message, and they live in Washington. And I have remembered them all these years, and I trust you will also put them on your prayer list. It seems that these are young people who could be such good workers for the Lord. The devil works harder with them to spoil their usefulness. I know you will be interested in knowing of Mrs. Johnson, or Johnsy. They took the old annex, tore it down there at the school, and built them a home up along back of the fairgrounds, on the Fairground Road. It was a lovely little home. But Mr. Johnson, after the children were out of school, he wanted to go back to Eagleport, Ohio, down along the Muskingum River, where he lived. And so they have a beautiful little cottage up on the hillside overlooking the river, and it's a lovely place to visit. And they live down there. Mrs. Johnson has been cooking for Norma Young Rest Home, but she has now quit, and they are planning to go see Donald. I know she would have loved to have had something to say to you too. And then there's Paul Mowry. I don't know whether you knew those boys or not. I just forget. But of course, George and Ben have both finished their ministerial work, and this spring at the constituency meeting, Ben was ordained. And they have adopted a little boy, and then they're also caring for 2 other little girls while their parents are separated. They're doing fine, and I talked with Garnet at the meeting, and she said Paul and his wife had been troubled lately and felt they should be in the work. They both smoke, and they did go back to school, but it seems that they couldn't overcome the smoking, and so they have left now, but I think they are still striving to overcome, and I know he would make a good worker for the Lord, so please remember him, and I know they will appreciate it. I'll tell you, Charles, when you were here that time, you remember the girl's picture I showed you that I told you was going to Southern Missionary. I don't know that you ever met her while you were there or not, but her name was Frida from Oklahoma. She has married a dentist and lives in Oklahoma City and has 2 children. And shortly after I saw you, I went with my brother down to Madison, and he was going to school there, and we weren't there only 2 or 3 months until he got a call to the singing evangelist of the Kentucky Cumberland, or Cumberland, Tennessee, whichever it is. And we were in a tent effort down at Graysville, Tennessee. And while there, I married Dr. Stokes. And we will have been married 4 years this month. My brother stayed down there and went in Georgia with some other evangelistic efforts. And then he was called by Robert Metcalf to Canada, and he went up there, and he is still there and will be ordained, we think, at this coming camp meeting up there. No doubt you remember Danny Stokes. You remember he was short and real fat. Most of the students knew him. And he was in the Marines and came out safe, but in December of this year he was asphyxiated. He was married to a lovely little girl. He was out of the truth and she was too, and he has a baby that will be 3 years old this coming October. And I know you remember him. I guess I've taken up enough time, but I'm glad to have had these words with you and hope we can hear your voices again. Goodbye.
Wait a minute, tell me who you are.
I did.
Say Brewer. He won't know it, but my mother did not.
I know you understand who I am, but I'm Agnes Brewer, that you always call Aggie.
I made a mistake in introduction. I thought, not knowing so much about the Stokes family, I just took it for granted that Mrs. Stokes was David's mother. That would be like taking for granted that Elizabeth was your mother, see? Or Mabel's mother. She's not, never has been a mother, but except in, that is not physiologically, but legally she is. Stepmother, she's been mother to you boys. Not so much to Brown, because he left about the time she came on the scene. But Charles remembers, and I know that Mabel does. Very distinctly, because she was only 2 years old when Elizabeth came with us. Well, it's been about, let's see, 5, 10, 15, about 22 minutes off of this 30-minute reel. Now, I think I'll cut it off here, replay it for these people, so they can hear what their voices sound like. And we may put some more on when we get home, but if we don't, just keep on playing it. There's some voice of prophecy on there. That's it. That's what we want. All right, we're home. This is Sunday afternoon. We were pretty tired when we got home last night. I slept from, well, we went to bed about 9 o'clock tonight. I slept till about 6:30 this morning, and I got up and mowed some weeds down on the terrace. We've been playing recordings all afternoon, had some fun. We decided we'd finish this one up. Before we left over there at Grove City last night, or yesterday afternoon, Mrs. Stokes gave me a paper, said there's some other things that she'd like to say on here. Said I could read it to you. Here's what's on here. I was not speaking of these different persons to be gossiping, but just to let you know about them. Would like to have met their wives, but time is getting so short that this probably will not be possible. But hope we can meet in the eternal kingdom, and then we can have a long visit. We must work while it is today. May we all have many souls to present to Jesus. Now, we have a few minutes on this wire. I don't know just how many, but May was going to play you some music here at the piano. So Mabel at the piano. That was Mabel at the piano. I might tell you a little bit about how I happened to be here, how I got here rather. Of course, you know I'm here on vacation. They're having a homecoming of graduates up there this week, so they gave us a vacation there. We didn't get it between semesters, at the beginning of this semester. I got my vacation at the shop scheduled for the same time. I intended to come down here, leave early in the morning Friday, and get down here about 5:20. But they reminded me there was an examination coming up after dinner on Friday, and I stayed for that. And I left right just as soon as the questions were asked, and I had about 45 minutes to get to the train. Well, I was on the train 10 minutes before it left. I went over to my room, picked up my recorder and my suitcase, got on the train. I had to come around by Richmond, Indiana. We were delayed at Richmond a while, and then we had a couple other delays, and the train got in, well, it was supposed to get in at 9:10 in Columbus, Friday evening, and it was about 2 minutes to 10 when I was calling up home on the telephone. And the neighbor, Coons, that was supposed to come and get me in the afternoon in Grove City, had waited as long as he could, and he went visiting, and I was given the number to call. When I called, they were gone, so I come out on the Grove City bus. Still, they didn't have any record of them being home. So I hired a fellow in Grove City to bring me out, and I got here just a little before midnight Friday night. We played around with this recorder for a while. It was about 2:30 when we got to bed. Then we went to Sabbath school and the church, and Dr. Stokes gave us a message in the afternoon service, 11 o'clock service. He gave us another talk, about 30 minutes. We played your recording where the whole family is on, so they could have something to reply to. And I mentioned when we started this program that we were going to play a record of a sermon by Brother Chrisman. Well, I didn't mean we was going to record that and send it to you. That was an hour program. And we got through with that after our making this record, where we cut it off, and people were tired enough to go home. So were we. So we just shut it off and brought it home and rewound it to hear it. And we decided to finish this reel. There's still some wire on there. I don't think it's very much, but I don't have any more to say. I don't know whether Elizabeth or... Well, Elizabeth, you want to tell something, you just come in here and tell it. And be quick about it because this wire's running out. You want to say something while she's coming, maybe?
Brian and Charles, I'm glad that I can speak a few words to you while Mother's coming to talk to you. I hope you success, and I'm thankful that you've been around. Heard your voice of the wires, and we had a good time over there yesterday.
Oh yes, we played back Charles's last wire with the one he cut down, then all tried to blast our ears. We played that this afternoon too, so Mother and Mabel got to hear that.
And it was good too.
And when we got back from the meeting Friday evening, Mabel had made a cake, a hickory nut cake, and we all helped ourselves with some of it, and had some grape juice, and Mary and Clifford and Aunt Alice and me and Mabel and your daddy all had a little party. We had some popcorn, and then they visited a little while, and then they went on home. And we had a full day and a nice time all day this Sabbath, and it was about to close when this happened. I hope you all have a good time there in California, and maybe this will be sort of a little homecoming treat for you. So goodbye and bless you all. Elizabeth.
Still a little more wire on there. I think we'll let it go. You can
Sing a piece.
sing a piece. Want to sing? Well, I don't know how much whether we can sing a hymn on here or not. Yeah, that's coming all right. We replayed this, and then we cut it off the record again. I wanted to tell you the name of the piece she played. It says up here, to Eleanor, Where the Roses Bloom, by Florence Newell Barber. It's called a waltz, whatever that is. And
Dog's barking now.
you hear Skippy barking? I'll turn it up a little. That's all of it, I guess.
Alright, YouTubers, that's where the wire ended, and I hope you enjoyed this installment of my series called Echoes from the Past, and I welcome you to join me the next time I present another spool of wire or a reel of tape, and maybe we'll hear another personal message, or maybe a recording from the radio. Who knows? It could be a few minutes long, could be an hour long. Anyway, I hope to see you next time. Amberola 1B signing off.